Hello, it's some dust or something. I'm here today because I wanted to make a video showing some of my favorite spots in Panjura to grind for marks and XP. I have a pretty good little quest circuit, as I like to call it, that I think works really well. Before we get into it though, do be aware that like if you're really small and you're trying to grow from like a juvie or an adolescent, this is a very common circuit for a lot of other players too, and there are even some PvP hot zones in here that I'll mention when I get to them. So if you are going to grow, I still think it's a great place to grow your baby dino, or a great way that is, but just be aware that you're going to have to pay a little extra attention to what's going on around you. But with that out of the way, let's get into it. Now, this won't come as a surprise to anybody who's played this game for a long time, but maybe if you're new, or I don't know, just looking to refresh yourself or whatever, I figured this could be a pretty good resource, because I'm asked all the time, you know, what do these abbreviations mean, and what's the fastest way to level up or farm for marks, and this has been, in my experience, the best. And of course I'm talking about this whole area around the center lake. If you go to the very top of the map, it's this big one with the island home cave in the center. I'm not talking about spine lizard, so definitely don't go there if you're new or a baby or whatever. But what's great about this circuit is you can come at it from pretty much any direction, and you're going to be in an area right away that's good for questing, and by the time you make your way around, they'll all have refreshed. So I'm going to start with LBM, Little Brook Meadow. That's up here, and you'll see this one talked about a lot in chat. This is a huge PvP spot, so definitely be careful here if you are not prepared to either run or fight. What's great about Little Brook Meadow is that it has a lot of different quests that are super easy. It's got a lakeweed collecting quest where you can gather lakeweed from the sides of this little lake here. It's also got a branch collecting quest. You can find branches at the bottom of the waterfall, up along the stream. There's a lot right through here. There's some at the edge of the woods here, some over by this pond. There's flower collection, which you can find in all of these fields. And there's a flower delivery quest that you deliver to a tree right about there. All in all, super good. Like I said, just be aware that other players are almost always here. Next, I like to go down to Lakeside Meadow. That's all of this stuff right here. And what's good about this is it's a grassy field forager quest in which you gather, I think it's something like 25 flowers and like 35 button mushrooms or something like that. So you do that. That's the only thing there, but it is good to come here because there is a berry bush and a carcass, so you can fill up while you're here. Next, I like to go over to Little Sand Lake right here. Little Sand Lake has an acorn gathering quest, which you can find in all of this dark area around the lake. There's also a field somewhere around here, I want to say, where you can gather flowers for a grassy field forager quest, and of course there's a lakeweed collection quest as well that is also going to be along the banks here. Next, I like to come down to the Crook. The Crook, you can just follow this little stream down, and usually to the south of the Crook in this patchy area is where you're going to find lychees. The only quest I've ever gotten here has been gather 50 lychees, which is very easy. They're all very close to each other. Once I'm done with the Crook, I like to come over to this pond. If you are something very small that is not very good with swimming, say you're like a raptor or a baby meg or something really small like that, you may want to skip this area because it is going to make you swim. Basically, the only quest for this little pond area is you're going to be delivering branches to the middle of the pond, and if you're small, that's going to be swimming, which is going to drain your stamina and make you very vulnerable. So in that case, I would just go straight across to the shores here, and this is Talon's Point. You'll also see Talon's Point mentioned a lot, or TP, and it is because this is another area where all sorts of people gather and fight or just hang out. You'll see a lot of sarcos and things that like to chill in this water. Talon's Point is a few quests. You can gather milk caps that you can find in the forests in the elevated part of Talon's Point, not on the beach, but when you come up, it's all going to be like through here. A lot of nodes of milk cap mushrooms. There's also a lakeweed collecting quest, which can be along this edge of the ocean, or the lake. Some right here. There's some over here. Basically all along the top, kind of scattered. And the last one is branches gathering. You can find branches in piles along the beach, usually sort of by trees and stuff. There's a few nodes through here. There's like one over here, one here. If you come up, there's one here, and a couple more nodes along the beach here. Once I'm done with Talon's Point, I like to make my way down to Corpse Cove, or CC. You'll see it called in chat a lot. I try to avoid this area right here, because the only quest you're going to get is a salt delivery quest at the bottom of like this cave area. Getting in and out of the cave is a hassle, and usually I just try to avoid getting that quest. So I'll stick to the beach, or at least up here in the forest that's kind of close to the beach. Corpse Cove only has one quest, and it's a bone collection quest. The nodes are like right here, 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 here. And what's good is a lot of the nodes are going to be kind of far away from the water, which is good because, again, kind of like in this little inlet, Sarcos and things tend to really like this spot. Once I'm done with Corpse Cove, I like to round this little edge, come up along this ridge line, and you'll end up in Two Brothers Hollow, which is this area, roundabouts here. And it's got also like grassy field collecting quests that you can do here. I think it also has acorn quests, which you can do down here. I think so, anyway, or maybe it's here. Either way. I come up, I do the Two Brothers Hollow. Once I'm done with that, you're basically going to go dead north, and this is the Highlands. And the Highlands are not only beautiful, but it's just like really good for questing. You've got the grassy field forager stuff here. You've got acorn collection here. Then it's pretty much straight north to Talon's Point. You can cut across this way and get there, but then you're going to have to deal with all these cliffs. All these lines here are cliffs. And if you don't want to contend with that, you can go straight north, and it's a much easier like slope over here. Talon's Point is also mentioned a lot. You'll see TP, or not Talon's Point, sorry, Tyrants Gorge, TG. And it's really good for questing, but again, a lot of people like to hang out here. One of the quests is lakeweed. You can find that at the opening of this lake and along some of this early stretch of the gorge of the water. There's grassy field forager. You can find pretty much all of the flowers and mushrooms here. You can also find roots here, which is for another quest. There's a branch collecting quest, and you can find those branches all along the river or the stream here. And then for acorns, there are two nodes kind of further to the right on this little forest area. Right by two fallen trees where tons of acorns spawn, but if those are wiped out, you can go across the gorge and find some over here. Once I'm done with Tyrants Gorge, pretty much due north to Amphitheater Lake. Again, you got a grassy field forager right here. You've got some lakeweed that spawns in the lake here. There's clams that spawn. One of them is like on the ground here. There's one in some weeds at the very base of the lake where it meets the stream. There's some along the rocks here, and like 2 or 3 waterfalls down next to branch node, you can find some. Once I'm done at Amphitheater Lake, it is southeast. I'm basically going to shoot for either this pond or this stream here. This is, I think, Great Lake Cascades is what this area is called. One of your quests is going to be branches, which you can find all along the stream, both of these streams actually. And there's also a grassy field quest where you can gather flowers from all of these green areas. And then you're back at Little Brook Meadow. So I have gotten some really expensive skins very quickly by doing this. Again, just kind of hopping down and around, all around the lake here. It's one area after another. There's very little like in-between time, you know, getting from area to area. And I think it is really good. I have grown dinos using this route, but as I said, you're really going to want to be careful, especially around LBM and Lakeside Meadow. A little bit over here at Little Sand Lake. The Crook's usually okay. Talon's Point is going to be rough, and because the pond is so close, you know, there's a chance you'll run into people here. I usually don't see that many people at Two Brothers Hollow or at the Highlands. Tyrants Gorge is another rough one. Amphitheater Lake usually is pretty chill, and I don't really see that many people at the Great Lakes Cascades. But if you are vigilant, even as a baby, if you're really listening is the big key here. If you're really listening to what's going on around you and hiding and, you know, being careful, I think that you can grow very quickly by using this route, or at least I've found success in it. Hopefully you will too. I hope that this video was informative and it helps you out in any way. And yeah, thanks for watching.